Castlevania Harmony of Dissonance was released back in 2002 for the Game Boy Advance. After the incredible Circle of the Moon, which actually launched alongside the Game Boy Advance, I always found Harmony of Dissonance a little bit of a disappointment. Don't get me wrong, I still think it's a fun game, it's just that I found Circle of the Moon, well, better. The graphics are much sharper this time around, sprites are more detailed and larger, yet the decrease in difficulty and an okay spell system never really sat well with me compared to the stellar GBA launch title. Players take on the role of Juste Belmont. That's right, a descendant of that super famous Simon Belmont from the original Castlevania, which I've just reviewed. It's only been around 50 years since Simon put an end to Dracula's tyranny, and Juste has been seeking out relics from that faithful moment. Juste's friend, Maxim, returns after a 2-year expedition full of bruises of battle. Maximum tells Juste that their childhood friend has been kidnapped and they embark on a journey to find her. It's simple stuff, and well, it's an extremely predictable storyline, but whatever, we're not here for the story, we're here to kick Dracula's ass, am I right? The gameplay remains largely unaltered to the previous GBA outing, and that means basically it's comparable to Symphony of the Night. That means players traverse a giant castle looking for new power-ups in order to gain access to areas they couldn't before. Now, one bad thing, or at least one sad thing, is that the incredible card mechanic from Circle of the Moon is no longer present, and it's been replaced by a dumbed-down spellbook system. Before, you could pair 2 different cards together that would yield a variety of unique magical abilities, attacks, and more. It was really fun experimenting with the card system to see which combinations offered the most useful spells. Now there are only a handful of spellbooks which grant elemental powers to your standard sub-weapon. This means you might find a spellbook that will attach, fire or ice damage to your Holy Cross, axe, etc. You still end up with a lot of cool powers, but the fun and mystery of the old system felt much more enjoyable as a whole, or at least in my opinion. Now, I say the gameplay was largely the same as in Circle of the Moon, but there's one core difference, and that's the fact that players are actually traversing 2 different castles that are sort of layered one on top of the other. Think of sort of Light World and Dark World from A Link to the Past to get a better idea of what I'm talking about. One castle has the same layout as the other, but enemies are different and so are the rewards you get in each castle. It can make traversing the 2 areas a little bit confusing at times, as you don't always know where to go next, but with enough exploration, you'll figure things out eventually. Or, well, you'll come to a dead end and realize, whoops, I'm in the wrong castle. One questionable addition made was the new Standstill Directional Whip. Circle of the Moon had players swing the whip around them as a defensive move when they press and hold the action button. In this game, just stands still like a statue and the whip goes limp. You can press the D-pad in any direction and it sort of pops out in that direction a bit. Now, while using this technique proves to be okay at best, it's mostly for show because it's not really practical at all. One new addition that I really did enjoy was the new dash move. Those that played Symphony of the Night will remember that Alucard had a backdash that allowed him to easily get out of the way of incoming attack. Juste not only has access to that very same move, but he can also do a forward dash attack, or well, dash, let's leave it like that. And what I like about the dash is the fact that you no longer have to double tap the D-pad like you did with Nathan in Circle of the Moon. This time just press L and R and that's it. One will go back, one will go right. Perhaps the biggest difference between Harmony of Dissonance and Circle of the Moon are the boss battles. They're a complete joke in this one. I barely died until the very end of the game. And sure, they're nice and large and detailed, but if they don't pose a threat, they're just not that exciting. And something else you should know is that the experience system can easily be abused here, where you can make Juste basically a godlike character, so he's so powerful that you can just walk through the whole game. But to be honest, you can walk through the whole game pretty much as is. Another aspect that I was always disappointed with, and a lot of people agree with me on this one, is the music. It's just okay. It's nothing special, and that's shocking considering the pedigree this series has. Hell, half the reason everyone remembers Castlevania is because the music tracks stick in your mind long after you stop playing, and that's just not the case here. The soundtrack clearly could have used a little more time in the oven, as they say. Now there's some excellent replay factor here, as when you finish the game you can do it all over again as a new playable character. There's also a boss battle mode you can unlock if you're interested in challenging these foes again, although they're not much of a challenge. Castlevania Harmony of Dissonance is a fun game, like I've said, and it's a technical powerhouse on the Game Boy Advance, but it never really stuck with me as much as Circle of the Moon did before it. Having just replayed both titles back to back, I can now say the same is true today. It's a fun game, sure, and it will scratch your Metroidvania itch, but it just doesn't do enough to make it a standout title compared to the other two Castlevania games released on the Game Boy Advance. Either way, it's still worth checking out if you like these style of games.